Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chapter Select, a seasonal retrospective podcast where we bounce back and forth between a series exploring its evolution, design, and legacy. For this season, we are covering the Metroid Prime franchise. My name is Max Roberts, and I am joined, as always, by Logan Moore. Hi, Logan.
Max, how does this show work? I don't remember.
It has been a minute. I think the last episode we recorded was January. It was Castlevania.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The last time we talked about Metroid Prime, November? October? So
Maybe.
It's been a minute.
Something like that. It's been a hot minute. I mean, if you're listening to this, obviously, sequentially with how this season is lined up, nothing is different at all. It's
That's
just
the
all here
power
for you
of
to
editing.
consume.
That's the power of banking everything and releasing it once.
Exactly. We took about, 6 months off then?
Yeah, you had to
roughly?
move and get married, whatever.
Yes.
I played an Ace Attorney game. You played Elden Ring.
I
Things
played
happened.
Elden Ring. So it was nice to take a little break. I think we've...
Little summer vacation in the spring.
I will say, though, and I don't want to, dive right into what we're going to be talking about here too quick, but it was a struggle for me to come back and get in the chapter select mind frame when the game we were coming back to was Metroid Prime Federation Force.
This is the hurdle this season, and we're over it. And now we just have Echoes, Hunters, Corruption, and Beyond. So
Beyond.
And it's going to be fine. I played this the day of your wedding, I was in the car.
Yes, you told me that. You sent me a message about that.
Maybe I should have played it during the ceremony. Really just permanently tied Federation Force to your marriage.
I think you sent me an image right after the
because
reception, and you're like, I'm back at the hotel and I'm grinding. And
no, we were in the car. We just left your wedding and we just started driving back.
That's how you got to do it. That's what I did that day too. So
I don't think you were playing Federation Force right after.
I was
your
not
wedding.
playing Federation Force. I think I was keeping an eye on the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, because they were still in the
street.
playoffs. Yeah,
I think they were still in the playoffs then. Or no, I think they had. Or no, they weren't playing that night. They were playing the next day. That's right. I was thinking of another time when we were also on the road. There was a lot of traveling I've had to do within the past 6 months. Some of it for pleasure to places like Jamaica. Others to go on trips to. I rented my tux out of state.
You had to go to Indiana and then to Illinois for your wedding, but you live in Tennessee, so you had a very tri-state.
I had to go get a marriage license a couple weeks before the wedding, but because we got married in Illinois and that's not where I live, we had to drive to Illinois one day and we had to go to the county where we were getting married, and that was like a 4 or 5 hour excursion just one day. I don't know. There was a lot of traveling we had to do in the final probably 2 months specifically leading up to it. But let's dive into it with Metroid Prime Federation Force. This didn't really hit me obviously until today, and clearly this won't be true for less than a year. But this is the most recent Metroid Prime game. I knew that obviously coming in, but it didn't really hit me until I had finished this game. I was like, wow, this is where the series has been for 8 years now.
Yeah, almost. By the time 4 comes out, it'll be almost a decade.
And obviously 4 was meant to come out far sooner. That's a whole story unto itself. But it is funny that this has been the lone Metroid Prime installment of the past 10 years. Because when was Corruption before this?
2007?
Yeah, I thought it was 2007 or 8. So there was an 8-year gap until this. And then there's it's been another 8-year gap.
2007, yeah. What a...
a 9-year gap then.
Iconic box art.
Okay, so let's get into it. Metroid Prime Federation Force. It was developed by Next Level Games. It released on the Nintendo 3DS on August 19th, 2016. It was developed by Jason Carr. It was produced by Paul Martin, Rob Davidson, and Kensuke Tanabe. The music was done by Chad York, Darren Radtke, and Mike Peacock. Max, this game has a stunning, a stellar, a very impressive 64 out of 100 on Metacritic after 59 total reviews.
CG Magazine. It's the best FPS on the 3DS and one of my favorite FPS games ever. That's the highest review. That's like the pull quote.
Ever?
CG Magazine.
What?
95.
We'll get into it. Because I think a lot of this game's enjoyment does really probably come down to how you played it. But we'll talk about that. That's sure is something, to say. So yeah, I don't even have to go check to know that this is the lowest reviewed game in the Metroid Prime franchise. This is probably the worst reviewed Metroid game ever, period. Both 3D and 2D. Like, I can't think of anything else that would be lower.
The only contender, based off public reception, you would think Other M, but Other M has a Metacritic score of 79.
Yeah.
And I like Other M, but it's been a long time since I've played it. I think...
Yeah, this is almost certainly the worst reviewed Metroid game ever. And the main reason for that is probably in large part, not solely, but you don't play as Samus. It's like the one game in the series that you don't play as Samus. And then
she shows
Metroid
up.
Prime. She sure does. A couple times, especially near the end. Okay, before we get into what the game is, obviously, and everything around that and our thoughts, like, do you have any histories with this other than just, I think, you wrote it down here, revealed at E3 2015. I think we all remember the infamous blast ball showing and everybody in unison asking, what the heck are they doing with this series and with this franchise? You have noted here in our notes that in lieu of this, there was a petition created to just completely cancel the game, which
it had almost 24,000 signatures. Not that a petition like this would have any merit with Nintendo itself, but I think it was the most disliked YouTube video, if not most disliked. It certainly was the most disliked Nintendo video.
Well, like, here's the thing, and to talk about this to start, because obviously this game, this is a lot of the discussion around this game was the reveal and was that initial reception. I sympathize with the people who are like obviously the hardcore Metroid fans, because these games don't sell well. So you don't get Metroid games coming out like on an annual basis in the same way that, you get a Mario game every year or a Zelda game. We were talking the other day about how Zelda's basically an annual franchise for Nintendo.
Oh, Zelda is an annual franchise.
They've got something new cooking with Zelda all the time. Metroid fans are left waiting a little longer. And obviously, Dread sold well for them, and Prime 4 is probably going to sell really well.
Metroid Prime Remastered did well. It sold...
Metroid Prime Remastered did well, yes. But again, a lot of that is like the product of like everything sells well on Switch. Like if you go pre-Switch, like within the larger pantheon of Nintendo first-party games, it is like they're one of their worst performing franchises in terms of sales, even though it's obviously one of the top 3 most acclaimed. Like when I think of their most acclaimed properties, it's Zelda, Mario, and this. Like those are their big 3 in my mind, unless I'm forgetting something else. WarioWare. Maybe WarioWare's up there.
WarioWare has to be pretty low, I would imagine.
So, like, imagine, again, like we said, if Corruption was 2007, you wait 9 years hoping that Metroid or Metroid Prime would return, and then you get this showing, and it's a team-based shooter where you're in a mech on 3DS. And I don't even think people hated the idea of it being on 3DS, because Hunters was quite popular and did pretty well. And, like, we'll be playing that game later this season, and that game's got quite a bit of good word of mouth surrounding it. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird. It's weird that this game got greenlit in the first place. I would imagine it was very cheap to make, which is why it did get greenlit, in some sense. But like, they don't roll this franchise out too often, and then they do this. This is the lone game that we've had for the past almost 20 years.
Almost 10. Oh
Well,
no.
I guess I'm thinking back to Corruption. It's
Sure.
been more like
Okay.
15.
Yeah. If you go to Corruption, then yes. Yeah. It's. Whew. There was an interview with Kensuke Tanabe, producer of the Metroid Prime series. He's produced every single game, and he talked about kind of like the ideas behind why this game came to be was kind of twofold. Wanted a game that explored the Prime universe without Samus, specifically to the Federation, to explore that dynamic and have them fight space pirates. And then also he learned that there was going to be a new 3DS with a C stick and thought it'd be cool to come up with a FPS on the 3DS. And so those two things kind of mashed together and gave birth to Federation Force.
Does the C stick even work with this? I mean, I didn't.
You didn't play
that
with
way.
the C stick?
No,
Oh
I
my
played
gosh,
with the
how
gyro.
did you play this? Oh my goodness.
I played the whole game with the gyro shooting.
I played the whole thing with the C stick. I was like, oh, I can't do
Oh.
the gyro. Oh, wow, crazy. But that'll be fun to talk about here. Yeah, it's just this game that's always had this cloud of doom and gloom surrounding it. But I think the game itself, just from like a 18-based shooter on the 3DS, if I was a kid and was able to convince 3 other friends to buy this, I think it would have been a lot of fun to do that. But here we are at 30 playing the game by ourselves because the servers have been shut down, and it does not age quite so gracefully in that context, which is a bit unfortunate. And now it's expensive.
Yes, I got this game pretty cheap. I didn't get it complete, but I think I just got the cart for about like 25 or 30, which I felt like was a pretty good deal, all things considered. Because I think it goes for like 60 to 80 complete, maybe.
Yep, that's what price charting says.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'll say too is like the studio behind this game actually has quite a bit of like history, obviously working with Nintendo Next Level games.
Oh, they're awesome. That's the last studio I think Nintendo bought.
Yeah, they're the studio behind Super Mario Strikers. They've done every game in that series. They did the Wii Punch-Out revival. They did Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Luigi's Mansion 3. They've also made some like weird one-off like Marvel games. Obviously, that's before you said they got acquired. They made like the Captain America Super Soldier game for the Xbox 360 and PS3, the movie tie-in game. That game's actually got I mean, it's a movie tie-in game, so it's not like the greatest thing ever, but I know a lot of people actually like that game as far as like licensed movie tie-in projects go. So like, yeah, Next Level is not a bad studio. And I mean, to open up the discussion about like our thoughts on the game, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, having played through this entire game, I feel like we just played it the wrong way, which is like not... I mean, obviously you can play this game in a single player capacity, and it very much, gives you the ability to do that. And I imagine a lot of people wanted to do that, and you can do it. You can play the whole game that way, but like even some of the way it's like structured, like a lot of the level design is clearly built around
Teams.
Like the idea that you're playing with 4 people. A lot of the bosses are that way too. Like a lot of the bosses are that way.
It is very much a four-player first game.
Yes, very much so. Which is strange because it's strange just given that Nintendo has never prioritized games of this type, especially during the time period when this was released, I would say. Like, Nintendo has always had issues with their online infrastructure and, chatting with other people and stuff like that. And they've come out with like an online co-op shooter for the 3DS. It's
well,
like,
see, I even would go, yes, it did work online, obviously with the Wi-Fi connection, but I truly think this is designed for local play. Is getting all your friends together and playing locally on your 3DS. That's what comes to mind here. And I think the big difference, and we'll see this when we go play Hunters, but I played Hunters a lot as a kid, and Hunters had a multiplayer mode, and so did Echoes. But you could play this competitive, regular old first-person shooter multiplayer mode in Hunters, But the single player was designed as a single player. It wasn't a co-op single player experience. And this is like multiplayer first, single player last. And that impacts the game design a lot in a way. I think that I have lots of notes to talk about in that sense. But it just, the whole time you're just kind of reminded that you're alone, and it doesn't make it more fun.
Yeah, the two, I just beat the game today, so obviously the parts of it that are fresh in my head are some of the final levels in the game. Mm-hmm. And the two final bosses of the game, Samus, which is such a strange final boss, but it's also cool. And then the one that's like got the boxes that you have to shoot or whatever, and then you destroy all the boxes.
Oh yeah, the robot tower, yeah.
Yeah, that tower. Like that was
man,
so
how much
clearly
easier would that have been?
Yep. That was like so clearly designed for like 4 people to be standing at all axes of the cubes and shoot them all and use it, and then it gets destroyed in 2 seconds, rather than that being the chore that it was to do in a single player fashion. And same with Samus. Like the Samus stuff was pretty. The Samus fight was difficult because I felt like I could only ever get shots on her in certain instances. Like I don't like if you had 4 people all firing away at her weak spots or whatever in unison, like you feel like she'd drop a little bit more quickly and stuff like that. Or at least it would expose herself to the shield where you could run her into the wall or whatever.
If you had just played more Blast Ball, you would have been able to beat Samus by yourself.
Oh my gosh, dude. And then the physics of how the ball bounces around, dude, made me so mad. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the final boss,
mad.
Fighting Samus, she's a giant morph ball, which is goofy and dumb. But it's just Blast Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so frustrating. It's almost an insult. You play this whole FPS shooting regular bosses, like truly nothing gimmicky about the mechanics of fighting enemies up to this point. And then the final boss is Samus, who's like possessed or something.
I was gonna say, but it doesn't even really do a good job of like.
You're not even fighting Samus. You're just fighting a giant morph ball.
Well, it doesn't even do a good job of explaining like what's happened with Samus. Like you just happen upon her and she's like tied up, and then they shoot a bunch of lasers at her, and then she grows 20 feet tall. And then turns into a ball and is rolling everywhere.
No,
it's like, what?
I think it was all because like the space pirates were developing technology that could make stuff super big. Like the monsters, they had those machines that would grow things. So like there's lore reasons for why all this is happening. But it's just Blast Ball, and that's so mad. And then I didn't tell you this, but after you fight Samus, you go into a room or whatever, and then you're hit by a wave of enemies, space pirates and little floating things. And I took so long to kill them that I had like 15 seconds to escape or whatever. And I was about 2 steps away from the invisible finish line. And time ran out, and I had to do the whole level all over again.
That is, I mean, if you want to have a larger discussion right now about that, like, dude, dying in this game sucks. Like there is no I don't understand why there's not a quick option to just hit like retry, launch right back in. In theory, I understand some of the reasoning. It's because like your mods can break and stuff like that, and then you have to like tweak your loadout and so those sorts of things. And it wants to give you a chance to like redo your loadouts. But even then, like you could hit retry and immediately launch into a menu like that without having to go back to the main mission menu, choose the mission you want, go in there, hear the briefing again, see the cutscene. It's like, oh my dude, just get me back in the level and let's go run through this again. I was playing this in bed the other night with my wife, and I died at the level I was telling you about, the one where you have to like defend the
computer,
the computer thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I died like
when you asked me about it.
It was like the very last wave. It died. And I got so mad, and I started punching our bed, and my wife was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I just played this whole level, and I got to the end, and I died, and now I got to play it all again." I was getting so frustrated.
And I just remembered this. You can throw health pods at the computer, and I just remembered that.
I looked this up on YouTube. Not like I just looked up like strats, and I was like skimming through a video, and I saw some dude shoot a repair thing at the computer itself, and it healed. And I was like, oh my gosh, this changes everything, and it helped me so much the rest of the game. Anytime I had to do something like that,
I think it hit me in the moment. I'm like, I wonder if I just shoot this at the thing, and it worked. But when I re-kitted, because I died too at that level, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
It takes so long to get there.
So that's a long level too. It's brutal. And so I just re-kitted with a revive, like if you lose all your health, revive. Or like a mission fail state, and then just health, I think, and maybe missiles. And then I got there and I was like, oh, I wonder if I just like shoot this at it, if it'll heal. And it did. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll be all right now.
I loaded up on shields and decoys.
I didn't use those, either one of those once.
The decoys actually were a huge help, because the decoys kind of groups them all together, and they could just like fire a missile into a group of them, and it does like splash damage to all of them. So that was a big help for me.
I was always missiles, health, and then like other fire modes. So fire, ice, electricity, whatever. I just like deal as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible is kind of my mantra.
You mentioned taking one of the mods that like revives you if you die. Like an 11th hour decision I made before doing the final mission. I was like, let me actually pull this one out that gives me percentage damage better and just slot in this one, because I would prefer to stay alive rather than deal more damage.
Right.
And thank God I did that, because there was one point where Samus's morph ball got on top of me and I could not get out from underneath it. I don't know what the deal was. And I just lost all my health and immediately died. And I had gotten like into phase 2 of her rolling or whatever. If I had died there, I would have been so mad. But yeah, I took that and it revived me, and that luckily I beat it in one go. And I was like, okay, thank God.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I want to talk about these mods really quick, because I think it's a cool idea and it makes sense in a team shooter capacity, but it also just works in like a single player sense. It reminds me a lot of Mega Man Battle Network. You could customize your Mega Man for different build-outs and things like that. But when you play in single player, you get a mod that lets you use robots and deal double damage. So it kind of it adjusts the difficulty because you're playing by yourself. But the problem with that is it is essential while you're by yourself to play solo. But it takes up a mod slot. And to get more mod slots, you have to get stars. And to get stars, you have to get high scores and complete objectives, which is obviously much easier with a group. So you are leveling up way slower than you should be. You have a mod slot essentially permanently occupied. So you don't get to fully flesh out this customization system that they've built that's pretty neat. And so instead of just adjusting the difficulty because you're playing by yourself, like just in the back end, they just make it harder by putting this single player mod in and taking up a slot. And it just, I feel like that was the wrong choice, because the mod mechanic is cool, but you don't get to really use it because you have to occupy a third of it by the end of the game to just make it playable.
The single player buff stuff should have just been like a default setting, or like a toggle. Like something you could turn on that's
it
not
should just
doesn't
be a
take
thing.
up a mod
It knows you're playing by yourself. Turn it on. And then if you squat up, turn it off.
Yes.
I don't know.
I completely agree, because for the first, I don't think you unlock your first mod slot until you get like 9 or 10 stars. And if you're like me, I was only getting
25, 30, and you were only getting one star.
I think it was 19 or 20 is when you get the third one.
Yeah.
But then you don't. I mean, if you're like me, I was only getting 1 star on most of these levels, so you're getting through like a third of the game before you unlock the second mod slot, and it's like, this sucks. Like,
and you just didn't have the flexibility to engage with these systems.
I was gonna say, like, one thing I'm curious about is like how the balance of the game is different when you're in a multiplayer setting. Like, how much more health do bosses have, and what are the par completion times on the levels? Do those change? Because like if those are static and then you're trying to, get 3 stars on the levels, but you're playing alone compared to where you could be playing with 4 people total, it's like that's kind of wild.
It's the one thing I wish we could have done is played with each other.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
just with the servers just happening to shut down. And I looked because the community obviously rallied when the Wii U and 3DS servers were shut down, and Pretendo went up basically immediately. But Federation Force, not a high priority for the Pretendo developers, and so those servers just haven't been replicated. And obviously, I wasn't going to be like, hey, let's play while we're together we saw each other for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. Like I wasn't gonna be like, yo, let's get in a match of Federation Force.
I don't even think I really started even playing it yet.
Yeah, I don't think you had. So it just wasn't feasible for us to play together like we did through Resident Evil or Pokemon. And it is unfortunate for us to, I think, have not been able to play that way.
At the end of the day, though, like I think, would the experience of this game be better if you played it with multiple people? Unequivocally, yes. Would that make this a great game? No, not really.
I think it would make it good, or at least at the more fun, for sure. Because hilarity could ensue anytime there's a multiplayer setup. Like I think back to Destiny, right? Someone's rolling their character a certain way, support, however. League of Legends would work too. You've got your heavies, your carries, and then supports coming in and whatever, however you want to describe it. It just would have been more fun to roll like that. And again, I think back to this analogy of like, man, how cool would this have been if this game was out when I was 11, 12, and then had my friends able to get it and we could have played together like we were doing with Metroid Prime Hunters. It's like kids' first squad shooter. I guess now that's Fortnite, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think the thing I would say, again, the game would be better if we had played it with multiple people.
I wouldn't love it more though.
And that's because it's just still not fun to play. I don't think the controls are very great. I don't think there's a whole lot of nuance to the combat. I think the controls are, obviously we've discovered here that I played it with the gyroscope on, which is much different than you did. But you've played it. I think both of us, having sampled both of the control styles in this game, I think we would still agree. It doesn't feel great to move around in this game or control or play. Like the strafing in particular feels bad. The jumping feels bad. Anytime I had to jump across gaps, I got
the jump is
nervous.
Awful. That was my note. The jump is awful.
It's really bad. So it doesn't feel good to play. And then I feel like the missions in this game, they just all feel like busy work. Like there was never any tasks where I was like, yeah, this actually rips. This is a lot of fun. Like maybe the boss specific levels where you're just fighting a boss. Those are the ones I like the most.
So every team shooter is just busy work. Let's look back at Destiny again. Yeah, I wrote down like an early structure. It's like you explore a planet, you find into a thing, then there's an escape sequence. Space pirates show up, and then you gotta extract. Like that's kind of the early flow I wrote down for these levels. And if you think about it, that is Metroid distilled, right? Super concentrated. Go to planet, explore it. Then things start to blow up and space pirates are there. And then you leave the planet. Like, so they did distill the idea of Metroid down, and it whatever. It's fine.
Well, what's the idea?
Great.
I guess what's the idea of Metroid? Like this digs into a larger conversation of what is Metroid. Because for myself and a lot of other people, like Metroid is the Metroidvania genre, whether that be, exploration, power-ups, finding new upgrades, finding new items,
permanent upgrades.
Retreading old ground. Things like that. And you kind of retread old ground in the sense that there's only 3 planets in the game that you return to for missions routinely throughout. But like this is, I mean, every other Metroid game other than Other M is cut from that same cloth. So for them to deviate from it in this way is, yeah, not great, not thrilling.
It feels like, and I'm not saying that this is how this game was developed, because like at least according to Kensuke Tanabe, it was, he was like, well, this would be cool to do a Metroid game for 3DS because of the C-Stick and stuff. But this just feels, it reminds me of Star Fox Adventure, where Rare was making a game about dinosaurs and being on a planet, and then Miyamoto comes in and goes, what if we just put Star Fox on that? And thus Star Fox Adventures is born. This feels like they just slapped the Metroid name on the box, and it doesn't jive the same way. It's just by association. Oh, look, we have a Samus. Oh, here's a gun arm. Space pirates, put those in there. And that's and put them on different planets that have different biomes. There you go. That'll work. It just doesn't, it's not a Metroid game in that sense. I think Metroid Prime Pinball is more Metroid than this.
Let me ask you this, because I know you tend to do more maybe historical research on these things than I do for this. Did you look into like what this game's development history was and what it kind of started out as? Did you, I don't know if that was anything you looked into, because you're right that there are plenty of instances in the past where, developers working with Nintendo create something that they're like, this is great, let's do this. And then somebody at Nintendo steps in and they're like, well, what if you did this instead? And so I'm wondering if this maybe started out as like a quote unquote traditional Metroid Prime game, and then somebody at Nintendo was like, well, hold on a second, what if we did it and it had co-op and multiplayer elements and blah 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 blah, and then it just spun off into what this became.
So I think the only dev history, I have an interview that I haven't read yet queued up from one of the developers, but it was specifically on the sound side, so I don't know what kind of insight I would get from that about overall development. But the Wikipedia seems to mirror what I read in that Kensuke Tanabe interview, which was he wanted a game to explore other parts of the Prime universe, which I think is a fine idea if you want to do that. And then the new 3DS line was coming out, and they're like, an analog stick or a C stick would be great. Let's explore it. They apparently did originally consider making it for the DSi, but decided to do it for the 3DS because of Next Level Games' familiarity with the hardware. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I was playing Federation Force, and there's a sound effect. I'm like, I swear, that is Dark Moon sound effect. And then I looked it up and realized they were the same developer. So it was supposed to come out with the new 3DS, but it was
Dark
delayed.
Moon now in stores once again.
Stores once again.
As of today.
Oh, it is. It's today as of recording.
I think it came out today. Yeah.
So what's cool though is this game did support the Circle Pad Pro. If you remember that attachment for the original 3DS,
I do remember that. As soon as we started talking about dual stick,
I feel like that's probably the best feeling way to play this game. I'm telling you, I was this close to loading up some custom software on my 3DS because I have it homebrewed where I could play with an Xbox controller. I was like, I just need a real analog stick here, guys. I just need a real stick. But I decided not to do it and stick with the Lil Nubbin for authenticity's sake.
So did you have to switch to like? I saw that there was a control scheme A and control scheme B. I did look at this, but I didn't ever notice that the nub was then an option.
So the nub just works. Like in Gyro, you could use the nub with it, but then also your movement is a factor. Kind of like Splatoon, where you can gyro and use a stick at the same time. But option 2 changed some of the buttons, like the way you shoot and fire, and was more predominantly like a dual stick first person shooter. So that was how I played it. And I tried switching back to Gyro. I was like, I can't do this. I have to use this little laptop nub.
My problem was I had gotten like 2/3 of the way into the game until I had kind of looked at the control schemes, and by that point I'd kind of gotten used to the gyro aiming, or gyro aiming. I don't think it was. I really don't think it was that bad, honestly. I did not have a huge issue with it.
No, I don't. I do think it's where you start. And Nintendo's a big gyro aiming fan anyway. Again, Splatoon.
Yes. I think the gyro aiming worked well in my experience. I will say it drove me a little nuts on like some of the final boss fights. Like that was the only time that I really had any specific issues with it though. Otherwise, I don't know. Everything's just kind of in a straight line. This whole game that you're shooting at, it's almost kind of like Doom. Like you really don't need to do a whole lot of crazy firing in this game, like over your head or anything like that until Samus is in a morph ball above your head, and then you kind of need to get creative. But yes, also thank you for the suggestion to take electricity. Freezing works as well. Freezing and electricity.
I said electricity for 2 reasons, both for Samus and to help you clear out that room afterward, because the electricity will take out those little robots pretty quickly, and electricity homes in. So I was trying to give you a twofold recommendation so you wouldn't die like I did at the very, very, very end.
How often... so like we talked about the mods a little bit. I want to know what sort of things that you kind of honed in on when you got to choose your loadout in every level. Was it always just missiles, super missiles?
It was missiles and health, and then alternate fire. Like I didn't touch slowdown, decoys, shield, nothing.
I mean, that was basically the same thing as me. Like the sensor I never used, the slowdown I never used, yeah, a lot of those ones on like the bottom rung there I never chose. If there was I always took a super missile with me, just for the heck of it. But that was also what I kind of used my mods for, was to give myself as much inventory space as possible. I think late game I got a mod that gave me like +7 to my inventory capacity. And so I could really load up. Like I could take like 3 or 4 med packs of super missile and still get like 30 standard missiles if I wanted to. So I was pretty loaded by the end there, but still it was not, I don't know. A lot of the secondary weapons that they give you felt pretty pointless to me. I don't know what the use of it was.
I wasn't a big fan of them. It didn't feel like they just felt generic. They didn't feel like cool new Metroid abilities, like a wave beam, or I guess technically ice beam was there, but
ice beam was there. They did throw that in there.
It just didn't feel unique in that sense. It felt like we need a fire attack, an ice attack, and an electricity attack, kind of that rock paper scissors triangle. I did want to say there were two gameplay modes, options, circumstances, two gameplay circumstances that came up that I actually enjoyed in the context of this game quite a bit. And one was the 1.5 missions where you have to get out of your mech and you can't attack, and so you're exposed and you have to slink around and sabotage a base. I thought that was actually a pretty cool idea and wish there was more of that.
I hated that.
You hated it?
I hated the one where you were stuck in the maze, because at one point I ran around the corner. Yeah, towards the very end. The second one you were talking about. Because I ran around the corner, I fell into a lava pit accidentally one time. And then it was, mission over, restart. I'm like, oh my gosh, where's my mech? Where's the thing at?
I wonder if there's a respawns if you were with a buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I wonder what that's like. Maybe it's just a Fortnite system. You got to go revive them while they're crawling on the ground.
Yeah. I was actually bummed I wasn't in the mech, without the mech longer. And it did appear, though, that there were routes for without a mech later on in that level. So I'm wondering if you could skip the suit somehow. So that was interesting. And then...
That's a good point. I didn't think about that because, yeah, those are definitely...
There were other routes that were definitely for someone without a mech. So
No, you're totally right, because there you would get to those situations and it would make you cross the gaps instead. And yeah, I didn't think about that till now, because I was at the time I was trying to figure out, like, why are these even here? But now I know why they were there.
The other one I liked, and I'm curious if you did it, was the lone level where they're like, "Hey, why don't you go get this Metroid egg for us, and we'll study it, and then we'll just get it." And then you get to the end of the level, and everything's blowing up, and they're like, "Leave the egg, leave the egg." But if you just go in the room, you can grab the egg, and if you can successfully carry it with you all the way through, you get the egg, and you get bonus points or whatever. So, did you do that?
I did get the egg.
Good.
Does that change the post credits specifically?
It does.
Okay.
I was curious. I did not know that going into the game. I just did it because I wanted a challenge.
Yeah, I did it too. Before I hightailed it out of there, I was like, well, wait, what's this room over here? And it was all the Metroid eggs. And I was like,
I'm here.
I think I can take this. I think we can do this.
Yeah. Okay, so I liked that, though, because if you're holding the egg, you can't shoot. But you got to shoot because everything's blowing up around you and enemies are rushing at you. So I liked that balance in a single-player context. I guess if every player was to carry an egg, you would get the same issue if you were in multiplayer. But then, can we talk about this post-credit scene?
Well, this is what I was going to bring up, as if you're going to talk about maybe how this sets up the next games, because this does.
Oh, there is no maybe.
This takes place obviously after 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is setting up 4. We now live in a timeline where we have seen a trailer for 4.
Oh, this is a direct reference.
All right, so
okay, you have not played Hunters, and we both have not played Corruption, is my understanding, right?
I've basically played all of Corruption. I did the same sort of thing in this game, except I tapped out. I got to the final boss fight. I lost. It made me start over from the very start of the level, and I said, "Oh, I'm not doing this." And then I never played Corruption again.
So Silex is another bounty hunter introduced in Prime Hunters, and then later featured in Corruption. So that is Silex at the end of the game, sneaking into the Federation base and stealing and hatching a Metroid egg. What shows up in the very first Metroid Prime 4 Beyond trailer? Silex with 2 pet Metroids. It is a direct reference to the secret ending of Federation Force. And so obviously you watched the Prime trailer before beating Federation Force, but I had beaten Federation Force already. So this Prime trailer is going on, and I'm like, oh my gosh. They're actually acknowledging it. Not only acknowledging it, but it has huge implications just narratively on the vibe here. All from this 3DS game that is barely a Metroid game.
I just looked this up. It didn't click in my head at the time that was Silex. Like, yeah. I saw the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, and I knew that this man had the Metroids with him. But when I saw that this post-credit scene here, I guess it just
I also did not recognize him
brain.
Because of the chibi art style. I was like, who is this? So I looked it up.
That's what was throwing me off.
But then you read it, and it's like, oh, it's Silex, who has like a great design. He's so cool looking. The purple and green with the shoulder pad, the big spiky one. He's cool.
So, I don't obviously know much about him, and we'll learn more throughout the course of this season. But I wonder if that was always kind of the idea for 4, story-wise, because that game's development has been rebooted.
Apparently, it's my understanding there is some sort of appearance or reference or moment in Corruption that directly ties the two. So it is... They're kind of like... Think of Silex as like the direct rival of Samus in some ways in a bounty hunting sense, according to the Metroid Prime Hunters official player's guide, which I have behind me somewhere. Silex's primary target is Samus herself, but the secret of ultimate power would be a great help against her. So yeah, he just has a beef with the Galactic Federation and hates Samus. So makes sense he would steal a Metroid, somehow train it to be his pet, and then go on to then use them. And I just love that this game that's been announced for 9 years, rebooted development, 6 years ago or what have you, directly referencing the secret ending of this 3DS game that like no one played.
Well, it's cool that it'll be like canonical too, like once you're playing Metroid Prime 4 to think like, oh, he's only got that Metroid because my mech dude in Federation Force decided to get it from this exploding facility save the egg. And
this also leads to implications for like lore that you could scan in Metroid Prime 4 that would directly reference Federation Force. Can we please get a log entry about how she was turned into a giant morph ball? Please, can we get a log entry for that? Just let's reference everything.
That would be very funny. I'm wondering how much like the Federation Force might be referenced like in Prime 4 period, because like
the Federation obviously.
Well, if Silex shows up with both of these Metroids, they're gonna be like, well, how did they get the Metroids? And then it's gonna have to be a thing where they probably talk to some degree. I mean, these games are never like super narrative heavy by any means, but you'll probably get some sort of information about it.
I was just talking about this with Try from My Life in Gaming, and he speculated that maybe there's just a summary page, here's what's happened since the last time you probably played a Prime game, which was on the Wii. It's like here's a quick summary of those games. And then they would just throw in at least hunters, you would think, because that's where Silex is introduced. That's important to that lore, and then so on. So I feel like there could be a summary page like Kingdom Hearts used to do or something like that.
It's cool. I didn't realize, too, like, I'm glad you brought this up because I went back and looked at it. I was a little distracted, so I didn't see the whole kind of start of that cutscene where he's sneaking in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's fun.
It is. It's a neat thing, and it's made more cool by the fact it's directly in Prime 4. Like, when I, looked up who's sneaking in just to tell because of that shoulder pad. The shoulder pad should have given it away, but I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Whatever. And then Prime 4 Beyond comes out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this matters.
Let me ask you, because I was going to bring this up, and obviously we're talking about story and narrative stuff now, like, anything else from this jump out to you whatsoever other than just, kill the space pirates, Marine? Because that's basically all that it is. And they obviously set up this one little thread for Prime 4, which will have its payoff, at some point within the next year here. Other than that, Samus just kind of shows up a few times outside of the ending section, when that's all a bigger moment with her. Literally.
Yeah, it commits the sin of too much talking in a Metroid game. Fusion has this problem. Dread, not so much, but there's more talking in Dread than one would think. It talks way too much. And the fact that you play as a soulless, faceless space marine, Alex Miles, faceless, just telling you what to do. It's just totally surface material. Nothing deep, nothing substantial here. I mean, I guess there had to be a Metroid egg just to make it a Metroid game.
Most of the talking too just really is briefing you on what you're supposed to do in the missions. It's not even like adding too much context or lore or providing a whole lot of information other than just, the space pirates have this machine on this planet. We're dispatching you there to go destroy it. Good luck. Like,
oh, there's an ancient civilization here. Maybe we can find out more. Why don't you go investigate? Yeah, it's just
one of the dumbest levels. I have to call this out because I played this one earlier today. Was the one where they're like, "Hey, we found this cart. It's just moving nonstop on the planet. We're gonna drop you off on the cart, and you're just gonna try to see what's going on there." And then they're like, "Oh no, it's a ship." The space pirate ship. This was a trap all along. I'm like,
it's a trap.
I'm like, why were you dropping us off on this random conveyor to just look at it? Like, I don't know. It was a funny pitch for a level. Obviously,
yeah, that one and that introduces that I think that's the introduction of the shoot spaceships out of sky with the giant catapult.
Yes, it is.
It's goofy, you know, cheesy in the sense of, oh, it's a trap. And then he apologizes profusely. He's like, I should have known that was a trap. How could I send you down there, Space Marine?
Very, very goofy game. Very
Can we
funny.
talk about Doomseye?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring this up next.
It's the Death Star.
Basically, it's more like it more reminded me of what's the Super Death Star in the new Disney movies, Star Killer Base. Because I know it's I mean, they're not really blowing up planets, really, but when they fired upon all of the ships there.
Oh yeah, it does look like in I think it was Last Jedi they did that shot where she.
Yes, that was kind of what came to mind for me in that situation.
I just said, you know, again, we're adults, we're playing this game. They're like, man, wonder what these space pirates are researching invisibility technology for, huh? Wonder what they could need all this energy for, huh? Samus has disappeared. Wonder where she went, huh?
That thread also just kind of comes out of nowhere because they just kind of drop like a line about it. They're like, oh, we haven't seen Samus in a bit. That's strange.
I don't know. It's weird. And so then it's like, there's a super secret base, but we've got to destroy all 5 levels of the shield. So here's 4 more missions. It's goofy and a very sci-fi tropey. A tropey is probably the better word. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine for a final level.
Kind of cool looking.
Hijacking not hijacking, but stealth boarding this evil giant spaceship.
Yeah, launch yourself out of the ship so you can float through the
Thread
shield.
the needle with the really bad looking shield, which also on that level that you mentioned before where you can hop out of the mech, I didn't even realize you could go through the holes in that shield for like the longest time. I thought it just like looked like that. Like, I don't know if that's just due to the visuals of the 3DS or if it just looked terrible.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even really tell that you could split through the gaps of those.
I remember I knew how to do it, died, and then came back and was like, how do I get through this wall again? So you're not alone.
I like the design of it just in the sense that it's a giant skull, basically.
Yeah, I like the look of that.
It's pretty punk rock or heavy. It's more heavy metal, I guess.
It reminds me of like Guardians of the Galaxy, where they have that whole planet is inside a celestial's brains, and it's this floating skull in space. It's kind of cool.
I feel like we've talked a lot about what there is to talk about with the story, the worlds and stuff like that. I feel like we've touched on a lot of the core elements of this game, so we'll start doing our typical wrap up here. Anything about the music stand out to you in this one? Anything about
there's music in this game?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they even had good moments to play, like the notable or like the key Metroid Prime songs, like especially like when Samus shows up a couple times. I'm like, oh, here it comes. They're gonna play the main Metroid Prime overture type thing, or the main sort of music you hear in these other games. Nope. They don't. And I was like, that's a strange choice here to not do that, but okay.
The Metroid Prime 4 trailer did a better job of using the Metroid Prime music.
Yes.
Than Federation Force did in an entire game. It is the music was a letdown. I did like the sound design though.
The sound design wasn't terrible, especially for a 3DS game. I was, as far as the music goes, I wonder if it was a distinct choice to not do those things that we're saying. And that they're like, in their minds, they're like, we want to save those for games where you're playing as Samus.
Probably.
Not where let's change the tone of this and the vibe of this a little bit and just have a fully original soundtrack and not, lean into any of these past musical cues from the other Metroid Prime games. But again, if you're going to put Samus in it anyway, you may as well incorporate some of those songs. I would feel like, So
it's probably the weakest part of the game for me. I played with sound on. It wasn't like I played on mute. nothing stood out to me in a meaningful way, except the sound effects, because they're from Luigi's Mansion 2.
Some of the I played with the sound on for some of the first few missions of the game, and then once I kind of got an idea of what it was like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna maybe play this game like while I'm having conversations with people or doing other things. Like it was like something I was just playing to like kind of while I was doing other things almost. So I wasn't listening too intently probably once I got halfway through the game, but I mean, I paid a little bit more attention once I got to the final missions, though, for sure. I wanted to ask you this, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Blast Ball. We have to talk about it. We've kind of talked about it, but not specifically. I didn't play it. I told you. You mentioned before we started here. You're like, the last thing you have to do is go play Blast Ball. And I said, no, I think I'm good. So I didn't play it.
You have to play it.
I didn't play it.
What's
it's there
wrong
in the
with
menu.
you?
It's there in the menu. It's telling you to play it. It's saying, hey, would you like
I think it takes up more of the menu than the game itself.
I think so too, actually. You played it. How does it even work now? I mean, is it just...
It's Rocket League.
Well, how does it work now with like the servers turned off and stuff like that?
Oh,
Is
there
it
was
just
always
all
a
bots?
CPU mode, yeah. There's a CPU
Is there various levels of difficulty? Like, can you ratchet it up?
Yeah, you could. I played a game. It's the final fight with Sam. No, it's the final fight with Samus.
You didn't win. You're not the
I'm not a Blast Ball champion.
You're not the Cristiano Ronaldo of Metroid Prime Federation Force Blast Ball.
Correct. It's just Rocket League. You know, just run around, shoot, get the ball in the net. Clearly made a mini game and just kind of was like, this would be neat. It doesn't feel good. It's frustrating. Again, would be better with other humans. At least be more fun in the sense of hilarity could ensue. But
was
Blast Ball and that
was
really...
Rocket League out when this was shown? Like, that is my question. Or was
I feel like Rocket League was definitely out by 2016.
Rocket League was out in July 2015. But when was this game first shown off at E3?
June 2015.
And was that the Blast Ball showing?
Yeah, yes.
I think so too. So they didn't copy Rocket League, I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
No, that's fair. That is a fair thing. But it's soccer. All right, we'll go. All right, so it definitely is copying soccer. Football. Whatever. It's there. It definitely does not help this game's first impression though, of like Metroid Prime, Federation Force, a co-op shooter. But what if everyone played this demo of soccer with guns? It's not a good look. It was not a good, like, best foot forward type scenario. Whatever. They clearly want you to play it. They're very proud of it. It's a big menu button, flashy icon. But it is not, in my humble opinion, worth checking out alone.
So you're saying I shouldn't go grab my 3DS after we're done recording here and make sure to play
the next time we see each other, if you want
to
play a little Blast Ball next time we're together, I won't say no.
I think I'm good.
What if we got everyone to play Blast Ball instead of Super Mario Party Jamboree?
I will not be playing that game.
Which one?
I cannot. Super Mario Party Jamboree.
So you'd rather play Blast Ball than Mario Party?
I'm not saying I wouldn't do either.
No. You have to pick one.
I mean, Max, here's the thing. We're getting older. We've all got families now. When we find time to be with the boys, we should not spend that time playing Super Mario Party Jamboree.
I'm just, in this hypothetical scenario, you got to play one of them. Are you picking Blast Ball or you're picking Mario Party?
It depends on how good the Bowser pancake flip mini game is on Mario Party, I guess. Because I really like that image of Bowser flipping a pancake on the box art for that game.
It's pretty goofy.
I guess Mario Party. Because right. I want to tuck this away in my 3DS collection and never let it see the light of day ever again.
But then you'll have to sell it like 5 years from now when it's worth a fortune.
That was going to be my one other I mean, this is kind of ties into legacy here. And I was going to kind of spin the conversation in this direction anyway. So we'll just talk legacy now. Is this game's legacy going to change in the coming, let's say, 8 to 10 months?
like in a revisionist history sort of way?
Not in a revisionist history sort of way, but is there going to be like this clamor to play this game ahead of Metroid Prime 4? Because there is this connection that it all of a sudden has with that game now that we know. Like if I just went and looked up, I told you I went and looked up off to the side here, that final cutscene again from the game, and all the top comments are just like from 8 to 10 days ago. At the time we're recording, that's when the Metroid Prime trailer from the Direct was shown. And all the comments just say like, welcome everybody, this has finally paid off. Finally, we have payoff for this moment. Oh my gosh. Like the comments on that video have been blowing up the past 2 weeks because of the new Metroid Prime 4 trailer. So will this game's legacy change in the coming months in any sort of way, do you think?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Sales for this game will go up. I don't think that means people will enjoy it. They will just want it for their collections.
Yeah.
I mean, the price of this game,
I've got it
after it kind of mostly was like 2023 is when it really spiked. I mean, its peak price was almost $90 complete, which is what? I think that may have been around 3DS closure announcement time, probably.
I've realized this in hindsight. Like, remember last year when I built up my 3DS collection really heavily and I went kind of hard there for a couple of weeks or months? I've since gone back and looked at everything I bought from that time period, and I bought at the peak. So that wasn't ideal, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah, the prices have definitely settled down for a lot of this stuff, which is good for now. But yeah, I think the price of this is going to go up. I think the collection, like the completionist in that sense of wanting every Metroid game, that'll always flare up, and having it tie directly into Prime 4 is definitely going to help these like secondhand sales. But it's not going to make the game any better. It's not going to erase that E3 reveal. It's not going to get rid of those 24,000 signatures, It doesn't make this a better Metroid game. It just feels like a game that has Metroid slapped on it, which is unfortunate for both the IP and for the game itself, because the game is a cool-ish baby's first team shooter looter, right? You're exploring, you're getting things. This is a fun local game, not probably dissimilar from Triforce Heroes or Legend of Zelda 4 Swords, which is now on Nintendo Switch Online for multiplayer purposes. Like, it's clearly a game designed to play with people, and they couldn't just sell it as a multiplayer only game. That would have been even worse for it. But playing it by yourself just makes you realize how much multiplayer focused it was. And I'm bummed that we didn't get to play it the intended way. Just, I think we would have had a better time. Just like we did with Resident Evil 6. If I played Resident Evil 6 by myself, I would not have had as much fun as I did with you.
Yes.
Co-op goes a long way.
I've tried to play that one alone. Not good. Not good at all. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, this game's legacy is going to be what we talked about up front. This is the worst Metroid game, probably, of them all. Both 2D or 3D.
We hope this is as low as it goes.
We hope, sure, yeah.
Please, nothing worse than this.
At the moment, this is probably definitely considered the worst Metroid game in the entire franchise, spanning back to the 80s, which really says something. It's definitely the most forgotten game of the bunch. But it's not atrocious. It's not like something straight off the garbage heap or anything like that. It's not great. Didn't have a thrilling time playing this game, but it's not horrible. It's weird just that we're in this era where the way that a lot of these games were made from this sort of era are not going to be... You're not going to be able to... I mean, there's probably a growing list of games like this from this time period that you can no longer play in which the way that they were kind of designed and intended to be played. And I can't think of any other games off the top. I mean, just look back at like, that the late aughts there when like everything had co-op baked in and everything was split screen co-op and everything had some sort of co-op or multiplayer element to it. Like there was a 5 to 8 year period there where like everything was kind of like this. And this game is obviously even more so than normal, more so than a lot of other releases even. But
this is a game Joseph Fares would like.
Yeah, sure. Yes. I'm sure they play this over there at Haze Light. I wanted to throw this out there real quick since we were talking about, the cost of this game and potential price charting value on this game as a collector's piece. I am very curious to know how many copies of this game are in the wild, because I went over to look at sales for this game, and Nintendo has never really released sales data for this. So all I have to go off of is what's on Wikipedia. And it says, upon its launch in 2016 in Japan, Metroid Prime Federation Force sold less than 4,000 copies and didn't enter the top 20 on the sales chart in its launch week. In the UK, the game debuted outside of the all-format software charts, below older 3DS titles, and charting outside of the top 10 on the 3DS charts. So this game came out and immediately was just absolute bomb. No one bought this, which means they probably didn't manufacture that many copies of it, which makes me think that this game, like I really do wonder how many copies of this game are out there. Like 100,000 maybe? Like that feels
physical
almost...
copies? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if there's, they have those world editions or whatever littered all over Amazon and eBay. Like, so I don't know about any of that. But yeah, this is going to be one of those, infamous low or, bad Nintendo game that collectors want to get eventually type thing. Not atrocious, but it'll enter that group of games. I think
so. Based on some quick Googling here, for the record, I don't think they ever even released a world edition of this. Okay. That's how poor this game did. I don't even think they decided to do a second run with the world edition SKUs.
Okay.
So there's probably very few copies of this game out there. Like obviously tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, but not a lot, especially when considering across all the different regions that it's available for.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say though that despite this game and its performance and all that stuff, and we mentioned this earlier, there's a lot of other games that they developed, but Nintendo still bought Next Level Games, and they make great stuff from Punch-Out. I enjoyed Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I think it fits the portable platform quite well. I'm curious how it'll feel on Switch just from level structure design. But Luigi's Mansion 3 is a banger and a great selling game. It's one of the higher selling Switch games. As of March 2024, Luigi's Mansion 3, 14.25 million copies have sold. Next Level Games dope, and I cannot wait to see what they're actually working on next. We're not quite sure what they've got going on. They haven't announced anything. Hopefully Luigi's Mansion 4 does come from them. These people know how to make a great game, and I think actually attaching Federation Force to the Metroid name hurts it more than it helps it, which is it's unfortunate for them because they worked hard on this. I have to imagine it's not easy to make a video game.
Yeah, they haven't released anything since 2022 with Mario Strikers Battle League, which I definitely feel like came and went without any sort of focus on it. I feel like that's been kind of
it sold 32,000 copies within its first week in Japan. So, and as of March of 23, it sold 2.5 million. So, I just want to point out that there are probably more copies of the Nintendo Land for Wii U, which includes Metroid Blast as a minigame. It's the only Metroid title.
Federation Force.
Yeah, so it's 5. It's not Blast Ball, it's just Metroid Blast. Deep Space Shootout, where one person with the gamepad controls a ship and everyone else is on the ground. So Metroid Blast is a better seller?
I mean, that's got to be a bummer to work on a game like this for however long, and then it's just doesn't ever do anything. Oh my gosh. According to VG charts, video game charts, which I don't know, usually they're pretty reliable.
I take it all with a grain of salt.
I do too. This game apparently sold 150,000 copies worldwide.
Yeah, that's definitely one.
Of which 30,000 were in Japan, 80,000 were in the US, and 20,000 were in Europe. So, yeah. Fascinating. We've come a long way. Can you imagine if Nintendo released a game on Switch now and it sold 150,000 copies?
It would be dark times for sure.
It would be a very dark time. It's a good thing that they folded in their.
We've lived through those times though.
We did. 3DS was a successful platform too, and it bombed as bad. So that's
saved the
3DS was.
Wii U.
I was gonna say 3DS was carrying them through some very dark times.
Yep.
And this still was not good. So.
Well, I think that does it for our discussion on Metroid Prime Federation Force. So thank you all for listening. Our next episode will be about Metroid Prime 2 Echoes here in Season 7, and I am pumped to play it because I have not played it since the GameCube. And I am, now that those Switch rumored ports still don't exist.
Sad about that.
I'm ready to play it, baby. I'm going to play on GameCube. I think you're playing Wii.
I want to say this right here on the record because it'll be funny if this comes out later once we release this whole season. The last chance for them to release those ports would be like the September Direct that they tend to do, right? And they just like stealth drop it. Like, hey, we're going to show off Metroid Prime 4 and also 2 and 3 are out today because that's what they did with the one Metroid Prime 1 remaster is they just released it the day of.
Digitally, and then 2 weeks later it was out physically. Yeah. They could. The mix-up and shake-up with that is Switch 2 talks and conversation that will likely be discussed in the fall in some capacity and have its proper reveal at some point within maybe an event focused on that piece of hardware. So whenever they announce that, the rest of the news kind of gets buried. Not that it wouldn't sell well, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm playing on GameCube. I think you're playing the trilogy on Wii U, I think. So you'll play with pointer controls?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I will.
And I'll be playing with a good old GameCube controller.
Gonna have to go dig out the Wii U. Gotta show the step kids what the Wii U is.
Yeah.
Open their minds up to this.
This is the original Switch. All right, kids?
Yes.
Listen up.
Yes.
This thing can only be about 10 feet away from the console itself at any given time. Perfect for going into the kitchen really quick and getting a pizza bite and coming back. So thank you all for listening to this episode. If you would like, you can find Logan online over at comicbook.com, where he is a writer over there, writing about things that are not called Metroid Prime Federation Force, but probably writing about Metroid Prime 4 if he has any say in the matter going forward. We'll see how that goes. If you'd like to find my writing, you can do so over at maxfrequency.net, and then I have my other show, the Max Frequency Podcast, which has had quite a few summer video game themed guests, like Jared Weich, our good friend, talking Xbox. And then I just had Mark Triforce Dedelson on from My Life in Gaming to talk Nintendo. So lots of fun video game stuff. By the time you're listening to this, that's completely outdated information, but you should still go listen to those episodes because they're good and fun. I'm just living in the moment, you know? But thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, adios.